Hi, boys and girls. Happy Monday and happy start to a brand new unit. So, we just finished up geometry and now we're going to focus on fractions. Love fractions, and by the end of fractions, you'll be able to add and subtract, even multiply and divide some. Okay, so let's get started. Today, you're going to be able to decompose fractions, and we're going to use two strategies. The first one is a tape diagram, and the second one is a number bond. So let's get started. You will have a new Quizlet for this unit. I can't stress enough how important all of these precise words are. I know that you did fractions last year, so you know what a numerator and a denominator. I know that you know those things, but it's just good to refresh your memory. So don't forget to check out that new Quizlet. It's called Andrew's Fractions, grade 4. I have it in the math folder already on Quizlet. What I'd like you to do at the end of class is show your teacher that you know where it is. So if you're virtual, you'll share your screen and just make sure you can show your teacher that you know where to find it so you can study those words. If you're in class, you can just simply walk up and show your teacher. All right, so we have a quick video. If you're here watching my video, you're gonna go to today's Schoology folder and it's called the Fraction Song. So I want you to go ahead and watch that fraction song and then come back. So pause this and go watch that fraction song. Again, you can find it in today's math folder. All right, hopefully that helps you a little bit. Here we go. So fractions. How many equal parts do you see? It's really important for you to understand that fractions are all about being equal. They are equally divided. They are equally broken up. So this whole circle is one whole. So we would write one whole circle. But we know that there's two parts. Two parts. So we would say that 2 over 2, a numerator of 2, denominator of 2, is the same as one whole. We know this, and we've talked about this throughout the year, that a fraction is the same thing as a division equation. So 2 divided by 2, again, equals 1. Okay, we know this already. So equal parts is the big thing. It has to be equal. If they're not divided equally, it's not truly a fraction. Okay? All right. How do you write a whole number as a fraction? So for example, if I have the number 1, how could I write that as a fraction? We just kind of talked about it. Really, as long as the numerator and the denominator are the same, so we could do 3/3. Well, 3 divided by 3 equals 1. We could always double check. I'll use my calculator. 3 divided by 3 is 1. We could do 4 divided by 4. It's going to equal 1, right? So we can pick a lot of them. I want you to try to come up with a fraction that would equal 2. So something that would equal 2. Something divided by something that equals 2. Now, there's a lot. I did 6 divided by 3 equals 2. 6/3 is the same as 2. We could draw it. Up here for 3 divided by 3, if I had, remember it's got to be equal, if I had a shape, it broke it up into 3 equal parts, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. Pretend I colored them in, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. It's the same as one whole object. Now, one reason I personally love fractions is I like to think of food. So I would call this 3 slices of pie equals a whole pie, right? All right, here we go. What does it mean to decompose a number? So I told you today, by the end of class, you'll be able to decompose a fraction, break it apart. We're going to use a number bond and we're going to use a tape diagram. So my question for you is, what does the word decompose mean? It definitely sounds like a science term to me. So decompose means to break apart, to break it down. So that's what we're going to do today, is we're going to break down. When I say decompose, you say break down. Decompose? Awesome. So we're going to do that by doing unit fractions. Unit fraction just means when there's a numerator of 1. I wanted to show you an example of how we write our fractions. So we know the whole object would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces, right? 6 would equal 1 whole. 6 divided by 6 is 1. But this one, only 5 of the parts are colored in. So my numerator, my number that's on top, numerator, is 5 to represent the parts. And the denominator represents the whole object. There's a total of 6 parts. That's why my denominator is 6. So it's part and whole, okay? Numerator, denominator. So I know that if I had 1/6 and I added 1/6 and I added 1/6 and I added 1/6 and I added 1/6, those are my unit fractions, it would equal 5/6. And we showed that here with this picture. Notice that all the pieces are the same. They're all equal, okay? So I broke it apart, or I decomposed it using a unit fraction, okay? All right, so this is what we call a tape diagram. And we know that the whole object is 1 whole. And if we added up the unit fractions, here's 1 unit fraction, another, 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 equals 3/3. I want you to notice when we're adding these fractions, the whole object stays the same. There's still 3 parts, right, to make up that whole. And our numerator is how many are colored in. So here's 1 that's colored in, 2 that's colored in, 3 that's colored in. And total, it equals 3/3. Again, friends, we know 3 divided by 3 equals 1. Okay? All right. So that was my tape diagram. Let's try this one. So I know to make a whole, this would have 4 equal parts. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to break it in half. And then I'm going to break those halves into halves because I need it to be equal. If they're not equal, it doesn't make sense. Now I'm going to color in 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts. How would I decompose this using a unit fraction? So I have 1/4, 1 out of the 4, and then I have another 1/4, and then last I have another 1/4, equaling 3/4. I decomposed it, I broke it apart using a tape diagram. I showed what the fraction would look like. I'm going to have you try one now. I lied. I'm going to show you now how to do this using a number bond. A number bond I like, there's different ways obviously to break it apart, but it's basically just writing the fraction. So like we have 1/4, 1/4, and 1/4. These are how they're bonded together. We could have also done 2/4 and 1/4, right? Those two together would have equaled 3/4. So it's just showing a different way that you can break it apart, bond them to make that fraction. Okay, we're going to start My slides are out of order. I'm going to pause you for a second. Okay, sorry. So now what I want you to do is I want you to try to decompose this fraction with a tape diagram. So first start by creating your tape diagram and breaking it up into the equal parts. Pause your video and then we'll come back to go over it. So what you hopefully did was break this up into 5 equal parts. If I'm doing 5, remember, I'm obviously not measuring them to make them equal, but I'm saying, so they're probably not exact, but I don't want to see this. I don't want to see, oh, here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, and then there's the 5th one. They've got to be equal. These aren't equal. So make sure to use a straight edge and make it look nice and neat. Mine aren't exact, but you can tell they're pretty darn close, right? So now that I broke it apart, I have a total of 5 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's my denominator, 5 parts. I'm going to color in 4 because that's, boy, my coloring is great today. Maybe I'll put an X through it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you should have used your your unit fraction to show that if I have 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5, it gives us a total of 4/5. Notice my denominator is not changing. I'm always talking about 5 parts. There's 5 of them to make a whole. And then I used my unit fraction of 1/5 4 times to get to 4/5. Okay? We're now going to do a number bond with the same fraction. Remember, there's different ways we can break it apart. For example, you could just do the unit fraction 4 times. 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5. I just did that one for you, so I want you to do a different way you could decompose this using a number bond. A different way you can get to 4/5. Pause your video and try it out. So one way we said was 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5, and that would give us our 4/5. Another way we can decompose or break it apart, I could do, let's see, let's do 2/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5. That equals 4/5. Maybe you did 3/5 plus 1/5. Maybe you did 2/5 plus 2/5. Those are different ways that you can decompose this fraction. Okay? I'm going to show you now with an improper fraction. Improper means the numerator is larger than the denominator. So for example, I like to think of it as like wearing a hat inside a house. You're not supposed to wear a hat inside. It's disrespectful. It's improper. Therefore, this is an improper fraction. There's too much going on the top. They got a hat on too. You don't wear a hat. That's improper. So first, let's draw my tape diagram. I have 4 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to color in 7 of them. Wait a minute. I don't have 7. I had 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I know that this fraction is bigger than a whole. So I would need to draw another whole. I need it to be the same size though. And I would break it up into 4 parts, 4 equal parts, because that's my denominator. And then if I have 4 already, I have to get to 7. So 4, 5, 6, 7. Here is my fraction. It's not 2 wholes, it's a little less, right? And then I can show my unit fractions to create it. 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 Forgot my plus sign. Plus 1/4 plus 1/4 equals 7/4. Okay, so this was an improper fraction and we decomposed it using a tape diagram and unit fractions. I could also break it apart with a number bond, and there's numerous different ways I could break it apart. Let me show you one way I could break it apart. I can decompose or break it apart by taking a whole out, and then I subtract that 7 minus 4 and get a difference of 3. Okay? So let's review real quick. We can use a tape diagram, or we can use a number bond. Okay? So here we had 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. Over here, it could be the same thing, 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. I do want you to try breaking it apart using an improper fraction. So I'm going to simply change this one for you to try using a tape diagram first. So let's have you do 5/3. We know it's improper because it's like wearing a hat inside. It's not respectful. The numerator is greater than the denominator. First, just draw it out and then use your unit fractions to complete. Go ahead and try and then check back with me. All right, friends, so what you should have is 2 tape diagrams for this one because we know we're talking about an improper fraction and it's greater than 1 whole. So I have my 1 whole and then I have the second part. I did my unit fractions to break it apart, noticing that the whole is always thirds and we're adding 1/3 5 times, okay? All right, so what I need you to do now is what I would like you to make sure if you're virtual, you got to talk to your homeroom teacher and make sure they have seen that you know where to find the Andrews fractions, grade 4, okay?